So I'll make a better version of this video later with a better microphone and spend a little more time on it. But I just thought I'd get this out for anybody who's a little bit curious about this launching a foil kite from the water thing. So I tried something a bit new. This is the second attempt. The first attempt, I was going to film it. Forgot to turn on the camera. Bit distracted. So I made sure to turn on the camera this time. But this time I did it a bit different because what I found was last time I actually tried it kind of up in this area up here, and I lost a lot of ground before I got the kite up. I finally got the kite was like here. It was starting to get close enough to that island here that I was thinking of aborting the whole thing. But I got the kite up in time and was able to foil a bit before the wind turned to crap. So with that in mind, that I was losing a fair amount of ground and I don't have a whole lot of room here, what I did this time is I entered the water here and swam out with the board, and I hooked the board onto this buoy. So you'll see that in the movie, and then I sat up on the board and did the launch, and it went fine, but there was one flaw that wasn't fatal, but it was not too cool. You'll see that as the movie goes on. But so my idea was to hold my position with the buoy until I got the kite up, and then take off from there. And then I had to squeak out between these two shad to get out into clear water. And anyways, I managed. But so here comes the scene. Just a quick note here. When the movie starts, it sounds like there's a bunch of wind, but that sound is the fan on my computer because I'm using the inbuilt microphone on my Surface and the fan's running. So what you hear, there is no sound of wind in the normal movie, but there's a bit of a hiss because of the fan. So just so you know. Okay, so here's the little float I had on the line so I could find it when I came back. My idea was to come back here and put the board back on and just reverse the process. Kite is strapped on with a bungee. So I take the bungee off, and then the bungee goes in the front pocket of, I wear a life vest now that has padding in the front to hopefully keep me from breaking another rib. And I actually have two in there, and that's really the key to self-rescue if I have to do it, because I can roll the kite up on the water, put it up on the board, and then strap it to the board with those two bungees, and then I have a leash on that front foot strap that I can hook on to my harness, and then I can just swim in front of the board, swim totally normally. But here we go, starting to put the kite up. So you can see it's flat as a pancake, but it's rolled up in a particular way to do this kind of launch. So I felt like I kind of pushed it down in the water a bit much. I was a little worried about that, but it ended up working. So I'm in the center of the kite now. I'm going to just hold it up. Now, the wind is super light. So, but even with that really light wind, you'll notice that once I get it up, get a little more open, can hold it up, it starts to get some air in it. There, you see it's starting to stand up a bit in the wind. I mean, it has so much to do with this like really light material that so far is also strong enough. I hope it, just keeps its properties for a good time. So just continuing to open up the kite, get a little air so it's going to float. But you can see it's like, it's way stuck to the water there. So now I'm undoing this half hitch. And then what I should do at this point is connect my leash to the bar. And I did it at some point, but I don't think I actually see when I did it on the movie. But I actually should do that now. If I haven't, I'm not sure if it's on or not. But just by connecting the leash, then you can't possibly stick the bar through the lines or something. So just continuing, now I'm holding the center lines, the two very center lines, and pumping the kite up a bit to get a little more air in it. So, and then tricky part here is you got to let it out evenly. Every once in a while it gets a little funky, but if you just correct it quickly, I think, especially since it's so light wind, everything's happening quite slowly. And so this goes on for a bit because the wind's so light and I can't swim the board backwards to let the lines out. So I just have to let the wind take the kite, and it's just such light wind, it takes a while. So in a second here it's going to kick into fast forward. But at this point I'm basically I've started it and I'm just letting the lines out. So here we go, fast forward. Now along the way I kept pumping the kite a bit to keep air in it. I honestly don't know how effective or important that was. You'll see at a certain point the kite's laying really flat. It felt super heavy. That was the other reason I was pumping it. I thought, oh man, I think it's getting water in it. But really I just think I was feeling the effects of it laying flat out on the water, and it's just kind of stuck on the water. And since it's drifting, it doesn't want to stand up, into the wind. It's laying kind of flat since it's going with these light winds. But when I finally get the lines all the way out, which is coming soon now, and it just started to get a little tension in it, you'll see that the kite stands up quite quickly. So now we're going to go back to normal motion. Just getting the chicken loop on. I have a surf bar now with a line on the front instead of a hook. Really like that because when you're riding toe side, the chicken loop can kind of swivel over to the side, and it makes it less awkward. So you see the kite stands up pretty quick. And if there was, actual reasonable wind, it would already be up. But it's super light, and there is, a bit, it's not much water, but there's some water in the kite. Most of the water you see is kind of on the right wingtip, because as it lifts, it tends to sink down towards the right wingtip. So you just want to keep lifting it and letting it tip a bit to the right, and that water will continue to run out. And but you're about to see the flaw in my plan here, because I'm just going to shut up while the kite's coming up. It is going to happen. Now at this point I also think being on the buoy helps because it's holding my position, so I'm not drifting at the kite. So it's actually helping with the launch because it's keeping a little more tension in the lines. So I said fuck, because what happened was I'm wearing a seat harness now, so I have leg straps, and as I got pulled forward on the board and slid, I was going to slide off the board, but my foot hook on the board hooked onto the leg strap. So now I'm like stuck to my board and my harness, and then with the pressure in the kite I can't get the board off. But when I finally get the kite up high so I can take the pressure off, then I can slide off the board. So it was awkward, and I was a little worried I was going to maybe like break the strap or something, but it went fine. So now I just go and take that little, there's a loop around that foot strap, take that off and leave the thing with the little float on it behind. Now I ended up not using that in the end because the wind got funky and I was going to have to swim back. But this guy came by in a boat, nice guy, young guy who actually does some foiling and has lived in Hawaii. We had a good chat, but he picked me up. I told him I could swim back, and he's like, well, you can swim. Why don't you just get in the boat? So I did. So you can see how light it is, because with the 13, I still have, I won't make it on the first just normal dive of the kite. So I always do a test now, though. when I saw that, then I just pulled a loop instead, and then I'm up and foiling. So, and it was fun, but the wind was really not good, but I was anxious to try this. So that's the end of my story for now, but you see that it's possible.